This episode of Cork'd Up is presented by Manscaped. Talk about the ultimate utility man. Manscaped is like the Mike Trout of ball trimmers. We all love that. You do not even need Fernando Tatis Jr. daddy money to get the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. But if you do have Fernando Tatis Jr. money, Rachel, please give that person my phone number.
Done.
And my email as well. I actually have many forms of communication, and Rachel will be happy to hook you up if any of you have daddy money.
What about your MySpace?
See, I'm a lady and I will not give out my MySpace.
I see. You say that to like the third date, right?
Yeah, I feel like if we're going to be talking about if your balls are trimmed or not, I would like to wait to give you my MySpace URL after that.
Understandable.
Yeah, and we did talk about this before because of their ceramic blade and advanced skin safe technology, your snags will be reduced with the close shave. Like I said, your balls will be safe when you use this shaver, which is what we all want in life, right, Rach?
Right. I mean, what more could you want?
Complete your top to bottom grooming game with the new refined cologne signature scent by Manscaped. With the same signature scent that is in all the Manscaped formulas, this cologne is the perfect complement to the collection. Once again, 20% off and free shipping using promo code Cork'd at manscaped.com. So we're going to talk about service time manipulation in MLB just because of the last couple weeks that this has been brought up. Former Mariners president Kevin Mathers had some pretty intense comments during, I guess he was speaking to a Rotary Club.
I spoke to a Rotary Club today, actually, and I did not say things that I would be in trouble for saying.
I was going to say, did you talk about service time manipulation or were you racist?
Yeah, neither.
See, there he goes. You should host.
You know why? It's because I don't believe in either.
Okay. There you go. Perfect. Yeah. And that's it. So there you heard it here, folks. Rach spoke to Rotary Club and was not racist or demeaning or was trying to manipulate anybody's contract. So one in particular, what Mathers said, he was talking about Jared Kelenic and Logan Gilbert, two top prospects in the Mariners organization, talked about keeping them under control for longer by manipulating MLB service time. So before we get into this actual situation, first and foremost, Rach, what is considered MLB service time and how could a team possibly manipulate it?
In order to get a full year of service, you have there's 186 days in the season, but that's like with off days. You have to accrue in that entire time at least 172 days. So every single day that you are in the big leagues, you get a day of service. If you're on the IL, you still get the service if you're in the big leagues. So when you get optioned down, right, as if it's less than 20, if it's 20 days or fewer, then you still just get a full year of service. If you were only optioned down for less than 20 days. However, if you're optioned out for more than that, right, you lose days of service. Mm-hmm. So that's why when you look at players' service time, it's like sometimes it'll say 3.163, right? So they just miss 172, so they don't get a full year of service. So in order to hit arbitration, where you can renegotiate your contract, and now once you get to negotiate your salary, years 3 up to 6, you're going to get paid a lot more than the minimum, right? Mm-hmm. So players want to get to arbitration. Now, with the exception of Super 2, which is, we could talk about another time, you have to, in order to hit arbitration, with the exception of the Super 2s, you have to have at least 3 years of service. So what teams will do is once you hit 6 years of service, you become a free agent, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to manipulate your service in the beginning. They're going to hold you in the minor leagues just long enough so that for a couple weeks, right? So that you will it will be impossible that year for you to get 172 days of service, mm-hmm. which means you'll have, let's say right before free agency, Trevor had this happened to him. He has 5 going into his final year. He had 5.1, like 6 something or 5 something. So just by a few days, so he misses it, which means that's why the start of last season, Marcus Stroman had the same thing. Marcus was before he opted out, he made sure he accrued those last few days of service to hit 6.
Mhm.
So now he can become a free agent. So when they do that, like for Trevor and Marcus, it was within the first couple weeks that they hit 6 years of service,
Wow.
but yet they still are under team control for that entire rest of the year, right?
Mhm.
So teams will try to hold guys back so they just barely miss it, so that they can almost have a player for 7 years, like close to 7 versus just 6.
Mhm.
So, and that's, obviously advantageous for a team because, especially if it's a small market team, they probably can't pay for a big free agent signing.
Right.
So they'll lose the player. So at least this way, under a in a cost controlled way, they can keep the player, and it just, whatever they get that player, they can have them for extra time. It sucks for players.
Yeah, and so and that's yeah, obviously it sounds like it sucks, but at the same time, just to play devil's advocate, because you know I love to do that. How would this benefit an MLB team? So if you can manipulate service time, what were
Well, that's what you get to keep. Trevor, instead of the same year as Garrett Cole, going and becoming a free agent, and who, let's say the Reds had him, right? Do you think the Reds could have paid him a free agent like salary of what he would have gotten? No. So, but instead, because he just barely missed it, last year again, the first like 2 weeks of season, he hit 6 years, which would make him a free agent. But his team, the Reds, got him for the entirety of that season under their cost controlled way. So they get, again, they get the player for longer and in a very like cost controlled manner. So that's why a team's going to want to do it.
okay, and how often is this occurring, do you think? Or do you think it's always been happening? We're just kind of getting there's more of a light on it now.
No, I mean, obviously with changes over the years with the CBA, this has kind of become like the result of a lot of things that have compounded and led to teams doing this. But it's been going on for a while. I think, the player side has talked about it and like drawn attention to it for a while now, but everyone just kind of denies it, and it's like this, like, I don't know, players, it's not a conspiracy theory, but like no one can prove it, right? With Chris
Right.
Bryant, I think they said that he needed to work on his defense, right? So they kept him down in the minor leagues for a couple weeks, in order to, again, to manipulate his service so they could keep him for an extra year. He brought a grievance, to the
Yeah.
against the team. Chris Bryant that year, I believe, was a Gold Glover.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and not many
You gotta
rookies.
you gotta work on that.
Yeah.
Maybe they wanted him to get a platinum one. I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, so it's silly. Like that's where everyone looks at him like, how can you say that?
Right.
But teams can kind of say whatever, and they have a lot of reasons, and it's hard to say that they're just, they can. There's so many things they can say. You can't really prove that they were simply just trying to manipulate service.
Yeah.
But there are some teams that actually pride themselves, I think, on the fact that they don't do that. Like when a player is ready, they call them up. I know the Padres like have been kind of known to, it's like something they, at least in the more recent years, they're proud of. They pride themselves on. That's why this is why we think we're a better team organization than other organizations, because like we don't do that to our players. When our players are ready to get called up, like we give them a full year of service. We're not going to sit there and try to manipulate them. You saw that with Tatis. They didn't manipulate his service.
And that's why you signed the 14-year deals, I guess. Good for
Yeah,
them.
but if you do things like that, I mean, there is something to be said, and I know players do. They acknowledge it, they appreciate it, they see it. When a team treats you right, you're much more like, usually the chances maybe that you want to stay there long term. Maybe you want to sign an extension, right? When you feel like you were being taken advantage of, when you were manipulated a little bit, that you're much more likely, I think, to have kind of just like they add feelings towards the team.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to see, like, them respond to, like, Josh Donaldson was obviously very outspoken about it, saying, like, "Well, yeah, now this is better of a light." Garrett Cole even said, "This is tired. There's an awareness now." Unfortunately, they're also kind of like, "Well, this is how it's been." And Cole specifically said, "This is how it's been now." So do you think that this hopefully could be something that would be solved, or unfortunately, is it kind of part of the game? In a way, or
Well,
the business aspect of it.
yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be, it's going to be a topic for discussion in the CBA this
Yeah,
next off season for sure.
yeah.
They did try. I know when I was at the union, one of the things that they were trying to do and come to an agreement on was, and I think they might have done this, but it's so silly. It's basically if you're a rookie and you, I think, are in the top like 10 or 10% or 10% or 10 of all MLB players, MLB player WAR, like that year, then if you were sent up and down, or you were like they manipulated your service so you just barely miss a full year, you would get a full year of service. Because what it's trying to do is, one of like the perfect examples was like Aaron Judge, right? He was someone who his rookie year he came up and he finished that season in the top, I don't know if it was 10 or 10%, I forget, but he someone like him, if he had his service manipulated, he would be able to get the full year, because a team like MLB looks at it as like, okay, so if you're gonna, who are the players that are likely going to be manipulated? It's going to be like the top guys, right? That are going to be expensive. You want to keep for longer under a cost controlled way. So those guys, if they happen to be like that good and a team does that, then you can't, and they would still get a full year of service. So you might as well just call them up and play them the whole time.